I am you from the future. Okay, what happened? Epic Pony War? Tell me, why are you here? I'm glad you asked. Later or rather earlier, time travel is complicated. Okay guys, I waited 200 years for this, just like we practice. No mistakes. Ready?
For the longest time. For the longest time. If you said goodbye to me tonight, there would still be music left to write. What else could I do? I'm so inspired by you. That hasn't happened for the longest time.
So, after re-recording my Q2 Remark review, I thought it's about time to take a closer look on this episode. See what I did there? I'm funny, right? Anyway, It's About Time is one of my all-time favorites. It sets the stage for not one, but two season finals, and according to my future self, the season 9 opener as well, making it one of the most influential episodes of the entire series. So I'm making the assumption that the writing staff also likes this episode, but what makes this episode so memorable? Well, first of all, it's really funny. Twilight has a freakout and teams up with Pinkie Pie. That alone makes for a hilarious episode. Spike, however, is a little bit of a mixed bag and probably the weakest aspect of this episode. I think he acts a little bit like an egocentric jerk, but his snarky comments and endings are somewhat amusing at times. So the whole ice cream thing makes him seem dumber than he is, and it's not even that funny. Anyway, it's not nearly the worst we see of him in this season, and it's more childish than selfish, so I can roll with it. But I would probably like it more if Spike would show some concern. Even if he thinks that Twilight acts ridiculous, he should be at least a little bit worried about his friend's mental state. You know, like in Lesson 0. Would it make this episode less funny? Maybe a little, but I prefer a good Spike performance over a laugh or two.
Who cares? As long as I can keep eating ice cream. Sorry, future Spike.
Trust me, future Spike has other problems. Pinkie, on the other pawn, is really spot on in this episode, not a care in the world. She just goes along with Twilight's antics while still showing a little bit of concern for Twilight after she hasn't shown up for several days. It really fits her character, and god is she funny. It's mostly random humor, but it's used to great effect.
La, 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 la. Gosh, I haven't seen Twilight since the flower pot incident. Hope she still isn't mad.
This is how you write Pinkie Pie. Not too serious, but still somewhat worried about her friend. And then there's of course Twilight in all her glorious dorkiness. It already borrows from Lesson 0 by showing that Twilight still freaks out about a slipped schedule, and the thing she didn't account for is that she didn't make a schedule for the next month. It's always funny to see something like this drives her crazy. But it makes me question her mental state at times. However, what really makes this episode is future Twilight's introduction scene. It's hilarious how excited Twilight gets while future Twilight gets annoyed by herself. And her design is just awesome. You see her and two things come to mind. What the hey happened? And OMG, Metal Gear! You know, if Twilight is solid sparkle, we also need liquid shimmer, solid glimmer, naked velvet, okay, that sounds dirty. Let's roll with Big Princess instead. When and Dancer, the last one is cool, I should write that down. And of course, me! I'm a fox. And I'm grey. Get it? Grey Fox? That cyber ninja guy? It's a visual pun. Do I have to explain everything? Anyway, Twilight has of course the natural reaction and asks if there's an epic pony war in the future, making a lot of Forward Equestria fans happy in the process. It only took another 3 seasons until we reached that point. Dude, you already made this show in your Q2 Remark review. Silent future me! Anyway, I have to say, out of all Twilight freakouts, this one is perhaps the one that makes the most sense. If my future me would come around looking like Solid Snake at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, I too would be worried. Very worried. And she starts off quite reasonable, warning the entire town that a disaster will happen.
Listen, every pony, I've got something really important to say. This is no laughing matter. We have a crisis on our hooves. I've just been visited by myself from the future.
And somehow the mere fact that Doctor Who's lost as the notion of time travel makes this whole scene even funnier. The fact that he makes a reference to this in Slice of Life is also awesome. What follows is actually quite impressive. Think about it. Twilight not only convinced Ponyville to make everything disaster-proof, she sent Pegasi to every corner of Equestria to make sure that nothing happens. And since Rainbow Dash got an all clear from every city, Twilight basically commanded them to do her bidding on a whim. That's the most princessy thing she has ever done, and she's not even a princess yet. Wait. Are you telling me Twilight becomes an Alicorn princess? Yes, Season 2 me. God, MLP is ruined. I'm so quitting this show. Shouldn't this cause a giant time paradox? Don't worry about that, it's a stable time loop. How do you know this? I remember having a bad hangover. And then there's this scene, Cerberus attacking Ponyville and Twilight explaining that he should be guarding the gates of Tartarus. Or to say it in other words, there's a literal gate to hell. Okay, that's not entirely correct, but it's basically synonymous by today's standards. It is actually quite disturbing, especially if you consider that Twilight returns from it within a day. It's right around the corner. Of course, it's hilarious that Fluttershy manages to tame Cerberus. Has anyone ever thought about that? Cerberus guards the gates of Tartarus so no one can escape. That thing is meant to keep monsters in check that are so dangerous that they can only be sealed away in hell. Cerberus is probably stronger than most monsters in Equestria, and Fluttershy treats him like a puppy. And of course we get this.
Hey, Twilight, how'd it go with Cerberus?
Great! I got him back before any of the evil creatures could escape.
Kinda weird that Twilight, who always double-checks things, misses the fact that the most dangerous being of all escaped. This scene is a quite good example of a Cerberus retcon. A Cerberus retcon describes, according to TV tropes, the practice to add a rational or cynical edge to a prior comedic moment, making it more dramatic in retro perspective. I actually wanted to point out that this is a rather literal example as it involves Cerberus, until I realized that it's called a Cerberus and not Cerberus retcon. Apparently, I cannot read. That being said, it's quite hilarious that there actually was a disaster that could have been prevented in this episode. And the time travel spell of this episode actually leads to an epic pony war. Ha! Double irony. Her following ideas to prevent any kind of disaster are as funny as they are lunatic. Not moving for a week, quite dumb, yet somehow funny.
Monitor everything. Makes sense to me.
Crazy and really funny. Breaking into the Canterlot library.
I'll just have to stop time.
Incredible lunatic and incredible hilarious. Also, Final Fantasy VIII reference. I think that game is a little bit underrated. We really need an Ultimecia Midnight Sparkle Mash-up artwork. Oh yeah, and Twilight is so obsessed with the thing that she is willing to mess with time itself just to hammer in how similar she is to Starlight. And speaking of Starlight, we see how she was able to get the spell in the first place. Security really sucks at this place. You would think that Twilight visited the Stars Revolving before. She is obviously authorized to do so. But it's really funny, so I won't question it. Also, why is Celestia in the library? It's funny, but doesn't really make any sense. Anyway, Twilight uses a time travel spell, and I think this episode should have ended there. The introduction scene was funny, and I don't really mind to see it again, but the following scene was somewhat unnecessary. It only explains what we already figured out, and ties up the whole Spike Eats Ice Cream subplot. I think it would have been enough to show Twilight arriving in the past and cut to black and let the scene speak for itself, but that's a minor nitpick. So let's wrap things up. As I said before, I really love this episode. It shows Twilight and Pinkie Pie at a comedic all-time high. Almost every joke works. The mere fact that Tartarus exists is still mind-blowing today, and it bears so much potential. We already saw Tyrek and the Bugbear that escaped from it. What other creators are imprisoned there? It's fanfic fuel at its finest. It is really impressive what kind of impact this episode had on the fandom and the show in general. I only have a few minor problems with the way Spike is presented, and they are harmless to your average Spike episode. But what about you? Did you like this episode? Anything that bothered you? Any other Metal Gear Sparkle character ideas? Let me know in the comments. I am Tricky Fox. Thanks for watching, and if you don't mind, like, share and subscribe.